So a couple of weeks ago, I was fishing a little brook trout stream in Virginia. I was pretty much fishing dry flies all day because it was just small water, not very deep, and there weren't many spots where fish was more than a foot or two from the surface, except in a few places, like at the base of a waterfall, and some of the other pools were kind of deep because it was a high gradient mountain stream. So in these spots, a dry fly was not going to work. Not many fish are willing to come up 10 or 12 feet to eat a bug off the surface. So at the base of this one waterfall, I tied on a streamer, but it wasn't really deep enough to get it down there where I wanted it. But I did get pretty close. I got one fish to chase it 3 times, and I hooked him once, but never landed him. So I told myself, the next time I come to one of these waterfall streams in the Shenandoah National Park, I'm gonna tie up some small, heavily weighted streamers of the bugger variety. So that's what I've got for you today. Now, you could consider this a micro bugger, but it doesn't have to be tied this small. I am tying this one on a size 10 because I'll be fishing it with a 1 or 2 weight on some pretty small water and chasing brook trout. And in this size, I think it'll be a great panfish pattern, but you could tie it bigger and just as easily fish it for big brown trout or bass. But I think it's a pretty cool pattern and very easy to tie. Not too many materials. You got a little bit of black marabou, and then I'm using black yarn for the body, and then some white soft hackle because I am calling this one a black and white. I'll let you know later this week if I have any luck with it up in the Shenandoah Mountains. So there we go in the vise, what I'm calling my black and white. Of course, I got a pink bead on it, but you know, that's just for fun. And I know this thing is going to be a brook trout killer. I've done a few of these today. I even made some of them with, you know, an olive color, with and without the bead, but we're going to do this one with the bead. Now, that is a size 10, 3 extra long streamer hook. It was not barbless, but I pinched that barb because I fish on that way and helps you get that bead on there. Now, what I have learned with these size 8s and 10 micro streamers, that you can pretty heavily weight them and still fish them with a 1 or 2 weight. So several wraps, I think this is 020. Let's go ahead and break that off. That did not break where I wanted it to, so we'll try that again. And I'm going to use black thread. Of course, you could use any color thread you want, but I'll put a little dam behind this weight. Take a few wraps up over it, and then bring it back here to the bend of the hook. And the tail I've been putting on these, just a marabou, black marabou. You could do any color you want, and not a lot. And you might think when you're making them this short that they're probably not going to have a lot of action, but really they will. You know, that's the whole purpose of marabou. It is a very, I guess, flaccid material, and it does have a lot of action in the water. So that little tuft right there, that's going to give us plenty of action. And what you could do, I did a couple like this. You could just take this, spin it together, and wrap that up as your body. If you want to do that, it would be, you know, you'd be saving some material. You wouldn't necessarily be wasting material, but I'm just going to use the body, make them out of yarn. It's pretty easy and pretty cheap. But before I catch in my yarn, I'm just going to take a scraggly white natural hen feather from a little soft hackle cape and create a little tie-in point. Actually wanted to go a little farther back right here. So there we go. If you can do the concave side toward the hook, it might help you wrap it with the feathers, the barbs sweeping back. If not, it's not a big deal because you can just preen them back as you palmer that up. So here's the body I'm doing. This is 1 strand of a 4-strand acrylic yarn, obviously in black. All right, we'll catch this in and then leave our thread up here just a little bit behind the bead. Now wrap this body up. And this isn't adding a lot of bulk. It's just really giving us some color. And you know, it is making it a little bit more significant of a body here. All right, couple wraps to secure that. And now we're just going to palmer this up. And this is kind of your option, but what I've been doing is not putting them all that close together at the back. So the first few wraps, I'm kind of sparsely hackling it. Not really, but a little bit more so. And then up here, when I get to the bead, I'm putting a few wraps pretty close together and giving it just a little bit bulkier of a front end or a head. See, it's already pretty bulky. It does remind you of the bottle brush. That was a steelhead fly we tied last year, which was a pretty neat looking pattern. All right, now before I snip that excess feather off, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish my head, fill this area in right behind the bead. And now we can snip this off and then we'll do our whip finish. And I've got a couple of barbs sticking up right there. They're probably going to make doing this whip finish, they're going to be annoying. So if I can just push them back and then get this whip finish in real quick, I might be good. If not, I'm going to trap some and have to trim them. And I can see I've already trapped one. That's a little bit annoying, but what can you do? We can lick our fingers, try to pull them back. And if they're really annoying you, just pluck them or snip them, or don't worry about them. Thing's gonna fish just fine like it is. So there you go, my little black and white, almost a bottle brush micro streamer. Really, it's just a micro woolly bugger. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.